Hey guys, Uncommon Ramen here. Today I wanted to take a look at a game called The Oregon Trail. I found this game probably about 2 Christmases back at Target, and I was really intrigued because I wanted to see if the game was as difficult as the computer game some time back. So let's take a look inside, because the game itself, the computer game, was incredibly brutal. It was a miracle if you actually made it to the end of the game. More or less, it was about seeing how far you could make it before you came across the tombstones of your previous families. So let's kind of see what we got in here. So the first thing I noticed when we opened up the box is we got this, what are the first names of the members of the party, and so you're going to chronicle, by the way, this is 2 to 6 players, so you're going to chronicle the names of the people in your party. But more importantly, there is a whole other side of this, which is just tombstones, for you to also chronicle their death. So yeah, that's brutal, guys. That's brutal. Then we got the rule book here. The rule book is pretty simple. The game itself is actually not a very complicated game. Take a look at this really quick because they did a really good job with this. One of the things that you'll notice right off the bat is that they number the rules, so it's actually very straightforward. It is an incredibly easy game to learn. But that being said, it's also an incredibly difficult game to win. Then, unlike many games that have any kind of recording device, they actually give you a dry erase marker that has an eraser on it too. Well done, guys. Well done. We got ourselves a little die. The die is for situational things. We don't really have to worry about that too much. I think it's cool that they gave us one with pixelated numbers on it, so that's pretty cool. And then, of course, we have the cards. There are tons and tons of cards in here. Let's try and pull them all out here so we can show you what we got in here. First things first, we have Independence, Missouri, which is the start of the Oregon Trail, and they were all heading to Willamette Valley, Oregon, which is the finish. And if you actually get to Willamette Valley, Oregon, good job. It's very difficult. Then we have the supply cards. These are the supplies that you're going to take on your journey. You are going to be receiving a randomized group of, I believe, 3, maybe 5 of these. So you're going to shuffle it up and then deal out random cards. The rest of them are going to become part of a shop, and as you go along the trail, when you find the shops, you'll be able to purchase these goods. Actually, I want to say all of them just remedy horrible situations that are going to happen to you as you go along the Oregon Trail. So, very important cards. Then we have the calamities. The calamities are exactly what you think. They're horrible things that are going to happen to try and kill you. And that's kind of what the Oregon Trail was. It was death. In all kinds of miserable, awful, typhoid-y ways, guys. Like, make sure you wash your hands when you go to the bathroom. Like, seriously. Dysentery. If you wanted to die from, and I apologize, guys, but if you wanted to die from diarrhea, here you go. Dysentery. Cholera. Typhoid. This is one of those ones where I just have to say, please, wash your hands after you go to the bathroom. Measles. Which I guess we don't have to worry about these days anymore, but cholera again, dysentery, just horrible things, and these are just randomly in the deck. So if you draw these, you are dead. That's it. You died. And all of these will lead to death, but those ones are instant death. Anytime you see a skull, you are dead. Usually if you see the dead oxens, you're probably dead too. But all of these are going to lead to some sort of, if you don't fix these now, you're going to die type of situation. Not fun. Not fun. Then we have the biggest deck right here, and this is going to be the trail deck. And this is going to be just paths and paths and paths and paths and and paths and more paths, because it was a long journey, guys. It was long. These guys were using oxen carts to drive themselves from what essentially was a flat area to what was not a flat area, trying to get to Oregon. And yeah, so it was long, guys. All you need to know about these paths is that you have to connect them legally. So in this particular case, if you have two cards like this, they cannot connect. This is not a connection. This is considered illegal. They have to connect the full card. So if you cannot find a way to make the full card connect, regardless of how you rotate it, and this again is not a full connection, it has to be long ways, then you cannot connect to the card. However, if you have something like this going, look at that, boom, you got yourself a legal connection. So, run down real quick here. Everyone's going to receive 5 of those path cards in their hand. They're also going to receive a certain amount of supplies, and I just realized the supplies are based on the number of players. I set a generic number of 3. That is, if you have 6 players, you're going to have 3 supply cards. 2 to 4 players are going to have 5 supply cards. They're also going to have 5 trail cards. Once you've received your cards, you're going to jump right into the game, which is essentially all you're trying to do is create 10 sets of 5 path cards that continuously connect, which means that you have to connect 50 of those path cards successfully to reach Willamette from Independence. It's insane. That's ridiculous. It's so freaking hard, guys. So let's talk about how, first off, and that's going to be during your turn. You are pretty much going to pick a card from your hand, which is going to be a path card, and you're going to play it onto the field to connect to the starting path card, or to connect to the consecutive path card that is already connected to the starting path card until you can somehow connect yourself to Willamette. But the thing is, what happens if the oxen die? What happens if there's a rattlesnake bite? What happens if one of these calamities happens to you? During your turn, you only get one action. And that one action is to either play a trail card or play a supply card. So if on your turn you play a supply card, you pretty much sacrifice that turn to that supply card, which means that you can no longer play a trail card, which means you're not actually advancing on the trail. That is harsh. It makes it really difficult. But it also makes it really kind of cool. This is one of those games where it is a cooperative game, but unlike Pandemic's very... I want to say the base level, if you don't add any difficulty to Pandemic, it is beatable. And it is something that, if given the right circumstances or given the right players, it is just simply a very beatable game. Oregon Trail, you don't need to add those difficulties because the game is just plain hard. Even with seasoned players, this game is ridiculously hard to beat. I don't know if there's only 50 cards in the Path deck, but if there is, that means that you have to make a perfect connection with them every single turn, or every turn that you can play a Path. Otherwise, you're going to fall short by 1 or 2 cards. That is enough to be just plain brutal. This is another example right here where you can see that if the Path is not, a full-on connection right here, where the entire card is connected, then it's not a correct path. You just can't do it. So, are you supposed to beat this game? No, I don't think so. You can, and I'm sure there are people who have, and I'm sure that they definitely deserve bragging rights. But I think this game is just like the computer game in that really what you're trying to do is survive as long as you possibly can and turn it into something fun and somewhat hilarious. Just like you were given an opportunity to customize your tombstone in the video game. You have that opportunity here in this game, and it's just I don't know. It's humorous to me. It shouldn't be, because it's kind of tragic. It's very voluntary Trail of Tears ish, but you know, you died of dysentery. What can I say? The only downside to this game is that you never see the hunting simulation, which was kind of the, I don't know, Oregon Trail. That was Oregon Trail. You went out there and you took your wagon along the trail, and you know it sunk in the river, and then you went hunting for like a rabbit or something. You don't see that in this particular core game, but guess what, guys? They kind of remedied that when they brought out the expansion Hunt for Food, and I believe you can play this expansion by itself. But really, honestly, it's something that you kind of want to supplement with the original Oregon Trail, because this one brings up the hunting situation, which is also just as horrible and deadly as the trail was. And I guess being mauled by a bison or a boar, or I guess even a bunny, is kind of tragic. So, yeah, cool. They did a really good job. Guys, this is Oregon Trail, and it was made by Pressman, who actually made the video game itself. And I gotta tell you, it feels just like the video game. Regardless of the fact that you're dealing with a physical set of cards on the table, you still have that like feeling inside of you that's like, oh gosh, are we actually gonna make it? Can I, really make this trail happen? Or is my whole entire family going to die? Or am I going to make it there by myself and the rest of my family is going to die? And God knows, I feel bad for the guy who made it all the way there with just himself. So, you know what? Kudos, Pressman. Haven't seen any other board games from you, but this was pretty much an incredible experience. I pulled out the rules when I first received this game, and again, I was skeptical, but after having played it and seen how brutal it is, and definitely experienced how hard it is, we even played the game wrong the first time around. We played the game thinking that you could play one supply card during your turn and still play the trail card, and we still lost. Guys, we were playing easy mode, and we still lost. So, I don't know what to say. One thing I will say is, just so I can make sure I'm covering all of the rules here, if you cannot play a supply card during your turn and you cannot play a trail card during your turn, you will have to draw from the trail deck and then just end your turn. So that is another instance where you're delaying the length of time that it takes to get across this trail because you can't simply play anything. So this game is hard. But it's so simple to learn. And it's really easy to splash the Oregon Trail hunting game into it. Maybe I'll do another video on that later, but essentially you're just going to create a grid of cards that they provide for you in the Hunt for Food expansion that has a mechanic very similar to Fog of War to kind of hunt for food and bring it back to your cart. One thing I will say is that it is possible to get yourself cornered behind obstacles, and if that happens, your hunter just dies. Like, guys, we already had enough ways to lose. Now you added another one. Yes! I shouldn't be excited about that, but guys, that's Oregon Trail. It is brutal, it is crazy, and it is so much fun. If you happen to be at a Target, or you just happen to see this somewhere for very cheap, pick it up. The game, I think, is $12, $13. It's worth at least 30 minutes of fun. If you like the video, go ahead and like and subscribe. Please leave comments. Every time you guys subscribe, I get one step closer to an official URL. And I love to hear you guys' comments. I'd love to hear your reflections on the game, maybe hear some unfortunate things that happened to you during the game, or maybe I just missed something that you think was important. So just let me know. And guys, until next time, peace!